Tameva mata apita tameva Tameva bandhuscha Shakha Tameva Tvameva vidya dravinam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. You my mother, you my father, you my friend and companion. You my blessings, you my belonging, you are everything, O God of gods. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Sorry, we are delayed for a few minutes, but we are back to our reading of the Narada's Way of Law. Last time, we all ended with the verse number 46, where Narada gave us some direction how to overcome Maya. He suggested that Kastarati, Kastarati Mayam. Who can cross this difficult Maya which covers our vision and wisdom, which is very difficult to get out of because it is delusion itself. So, but who can get out of this? Yah Sangam Stajati. We have heard who can give up the association, renounce the association. Yo Mahanubhavam, second point. Those who can serve the holy people or the ideas for which the holy people stand. Mahanubhavam. And Jo Nirmamo Bhavati, who can become free from me and mine attachment. The whole world is tied in that subtle thread, subtle glue, which is always in us, me and mine. And what is me and mine? Opposite of what will be. When I say me and mine, it is not me, you are outside me. That means this likes, dislikes duality plays on. So these are the three qualities we have been instructed then. Now, today, Sri Ramakrishna, this Narada, gives another suggestion how to cross the ocean of Maya. He says, Yo Vivikta Sthanam Sevate, verse number 47. We are on page 111 of the book, but I am reading the Sanskrit one of Narada, which says, Yo Vivikta Sthanam Sevate. Yo Vivikta Sthanam Sevate. 1 point. Second point, Yo Loka Bandham Unmulayati. Second. Third, Nishtay Gunno Bhavati. Fourth. Fifth, Yogakshemam Tajati. 5 points here today. Very important for at crossing this terrible turmoil or this gloomy ignorance. So it says, he or one, Vivikta Sthanam Sevate, who likes to live in solitude. We'll have to understand solitude. Normally people say, okay, let us go today to some isolated cave. Yes, that may be solitude, but that is not solitude, where your mind is peaceful, where you keep your mind in God and consciousness, so the mind is peaceful. That is the solitude, alone with God. That is called solitude. But anyway, physical, it's true. You cannot go and start meditating in front of the Hollywood Boulevard. or in some place, marketplace, where people are howling, dancing, singing. That's not a place for meditation or practicing devotional disciplines. So that place where there is less crowd or less disturbance, one point. Yaloka bandham unmulayati, who is fascinated with socializing too much. Lokik samparka, the relationship with the material world. When you have money, see how many people you have money and youth and all charming time. How many friends and this and that just gather around you, ha ha hoo hoo day and dancing this they go on. But when you are in difficulty, boom, all friends have left you. So not only you go to isolated place or to a quiet place for me practice of this, quiet is best quiet place is inside. There will be everything, but you go back to your quiet place. Second place is lokabandham, the bondage, the sampark, the tie with lokic people. Not to avoid people, but those who are very worldly, those who have no other spiritual bent of their mind, only think of this, the temporary objects of the world as the ultimate. Lokabandham unmulayati. So lokabandham, the relationship, the bondage that creates due to secular relationship, mundane relationship, worldly relationship. Unmulayati. Unmulayati means root out. Root out that from your heart. That means those attachments to root out. Third, Nishtray Gunno Bhavati becomes beyond the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. As you know, enough we have discussed Tin Gun, three qualities. Tamas binds in the entire chapter of 14th chapter in the Bhagavad Gita. They talk about this Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Sattam, even Sattva quality is good. Tama is bad, we know. Raja is also bad. Tama binds into darkness and ignorance. Rajas in action. Sattvagun in happiness, pleasure. So, but who is not bound in this three level? Neither in the tamas, not in the rajas, or in the sattva. So, one who can transcend that. And fourth point, very important, yoga kshemam tyajati. He gives up also this effort to yoga and kshema, two words. Yoga means here yoga will be that object which is not mine, but I need it. I ask for that. I go for that. I crave for that. No, I am a lover of God. I won't. That person is cutting the Maya's tie. And what I have to preserve that. Who will look after me if everything goes? No, it's not for a devotee. Devotee will totally give it to God. Whatever happens, what is my thing? I'm not to think about that. God will provide. That conviction only comes to a person who is pure, who is a sign that he is going beyond Maya, who is always thinking, what will happen to me? How shall I protect me? How shall I? God is there to protect. You don't believe in that. You are believing on your effort to protect this, to earn this, to protect this. So this is the idea. It is because he's talking of a high quality spiritual student who will be totally freeing himself from Maya. So these qualities will be manifested in his life. So these are the how many qualities? 5. One, living in solitude, nirjan vas, vivikta sthanam sebate. Second point, jo lokabandham unmulayati, he who Unmuran means uproots all the attachment for socializing, for people of the world whose relationship is very fragile, very meaningless, and want to keep that, and who has the power to cut out. Now, I will talk with people who talk about God. I will interact with people who loves God. I will be with such association where there is only spiritual conversation, discussion like that. So it is a very difficult thing. It is not saying that you be ruthless and just go and in a dungeon cell. No, you will be in the world. The bhakta will be in the world, but he will not relish mundane talks. Rather, he or she will relish to talk about love, how to grow love, divine stories, spiritual discussions. So that. So second point. And third point, Nishtai Guna, go beyond all the three gunas. And fourth point, Yoga Tajati, Kshema Tajati. 4 and 5, or you can say 4. Yoga means what we have to preserve it. And what I got it, I will have to preserve it. He does not, what, is it not necessary for survival to be a fool and idiot not to take care of this? But yes, a little whatever is needed, they will do. But because he does not want to spend his valuable time in this issue of mundane worldly thought, that will also God take care. Let me think of God and let God think of me. They take this, bhaktas, the devotees take this attitude. Let me think of God and let God think of my problems. And we find that it happens. No. We find in the bhaktas like this type of surrender, this type of, and Gita also says, yoga, shemam, what is the verse? Yoga, shemam, bahamyaham. Here Gita says, I will carry the need of my devotees, what he needs, and I will take care of his protecting what is important, necessary for him. And Sri Krishna in Gita have just given this firm statement. Yoga Kshemam Bhamam. You need not have to think about that. Look at that, that is very true. You go to the all renouncing monks or all renouncing devotees also. They have no position, they have nothing. But they rely on God and whatever. Maybe sometimes they get, sometimes they will not. But they think that God is taking care. I need not have to do anything. So this is very high state. That's why I don't mean that you are doing or me doing are doing or not. We are failing. This is the goal. When one reaches Maya, crosses the Maya, this will be, the mental state will be that too much surrender. It is not tamasa, it is not non-action, but it is action, less action. Why? Mind is consumed in God, and God will take care of this. To very few people in the world. That's why very few people can cross Maya. Simple. So here we find that this Swami has translated the 47th verse on page 111. Who indeed overcomes Maya? He who lives in solitude, 1 point. Cuts through the bondage of this world. Cuts through the bondage, uproots all the bondage. And third, goes beyond the three gunas and depends upon the Lord even for his living. That is the simple translation. Depends upon God even for his living. He does not make any effort. So this is a very high state. And don't compare yourself, as I am saying, think that, oh, I am to tomorrow alone, I will give up my job. Those on the household life. I'll say, okay, God will take care. No. Oh, I will not go to shopping to shop. God will purchase the shopping. Are you in that state of crossing Maya. You are living in this lower level and thinking of that. That people make a mistake. I will depend. Have you surrendered in God? So it is to be cultivated. Love for God will grow in such a way that totally you think, oh, He is the Lord of the universe. By His will, everything is happening. So He will take care of me. Why am I to think about that? Huh? There is a story, no? That Ramakrishna in the Gospel probably have said that there was a monk. He became a monk very early days. So he went for begging, and one day the one whom he was trying to went for begging, and one young lady came and gave him some alms with her mother-in-law, and then he said that, and he saw the breast of the girl, and she had so innocent, never seen anything. He asked his mother-in-law, what is for this? Ma, what is this? Then the mother-in-law told her, that sadhu, that because he became a monk very early days. He has no sense of this world. Ramakrishna said that. He said, oh, you know why? God will give a baby in her womb someday. And this baby will need milk. No other milk will suit the baby. Mother's breast milk. That's why God has given this for having the milk for the baby. Then he said, oh, is it so? What a fool am I? I am begging. And he gave up the offering and ran away. Then he said, God will look after. Even when this girl will be bearing a child and the baby will be born and the baby will need the milk, God has provided all this arrangement much before. And I am a lover of God. And I say I have become monk. And I am now thinking, begging in this door, give me food, give me food, give me food. What type of surrender is this? You see, this is every Ramakrishna story is so intense and deep. Perspective is that really, if we look at the plan, God's plan in the world, everything has been pre-designed by Him, and He has organized everything. Who surrenders need not have to think. Baby need not have to think, what shall I drink? After the birth of the baby, other milk will not suit that baby. God has provided that already. And that is the time milk will come in her breast. Oh my God, is it so? And I trying to find my food, begging door to door. It's a very high level. And that person was so pure that it immediately hit his heart. And he left everything and stopped begging from door to door, depending totally on God. And true, God provides. We have heard many stories about monks' lives when you find that you need not have to do anything. God is doing everything and supplying everything in places. That's why we chant sometimes in the conflagration fire. In the morning we chant in the Chandi. Mother, you stand and protect in the midst of the deep sea. You are there to protect. So these are not for us. We may not accept, or we cannot accept these things because we are not in that plane. But when total surrender comes, this will be the result. So there are a few beautiful passages in the Kaivalya Upanishad, which can be quoted here as a commentary on the above aphorism. What is that? In the Kaivalya Upanishad it is said that retire into solitude. Seat yourself on a clean spot and in an erect posture with head and neck in a straight line. Be indifferent to the world. Control all sense organs. Bow down in devotion to your Guru. Then enter the lotus of the heart and there meditate on the presence of Brahman, the pure, the blissful. It is a quotation from Kaivalya Upanishad. So what he says that this instruction in the Upanishad is retire in solitude. You have to go for meditation or building up your spiritual life. You need quietness. And quietness does not mean the external quietness, more so of your internal cluttering of your mind. Most of our time is lost when you sit for meditation for this internal cluttering going on continuously. Sit yourself. There you go. Gita also said, Vivikto sthano sevittam, those people who serve or like Vivikto desha sevittam. Vivikto desha is a place which is isolated. There is no crowd, there is no disturbance there. And there you sit in a posture, straight posture, and in a place which is clean. Because people used to go to different forests and different areas, forest areas, to do meditation, no? And then they in the Himalayas or in the forest. So make a place which is clean, no serpent, no scorpion, nothing, no? So the clean place and erect posture, the back, neck, with head and neck in the straight line, and then indifferent to the world. What happens, what is going on. Oh, didn't read the newspaper for several days. Oh, what is going on Google search? Let us see what is going on today's political situation. No, it is not for the devotee. He feels that this world will go on like that, good and bad. But I am to realize God here and now. So, see, indifferent to the world. Then control all the sense organs. They are controlling the eyes, ears, and all the sense organs. What? And then focusing inside. Bow down in devotion. First, you do your spiritual practice, offering your salutation to your Guru. Then enter into the lotus of the heart and there meditate in the presence. Here, in your heart, you meditate on Brahman or your Ishta Devata chosen ideal, the pure and blissful. Unmanifest to the senses, beyond all thoughts, infinite in form is God. He is the doer of all good. He is forever tranquil. He is immortal. He is one without a beginning, middle, or end. He is all pervading. He is infinite wisdom and He is bliss. So entering into in the silence in your heart, what will you think? Think this way. That the senses cannot manifest that. Unmanifested to the senses. The senses, eyes cannot see what is Brahman. This eye, it cannot see God, the infinite. This ear cannot hear the sound. So these senses become all redundant. And He is the doer of all good. God is the doer of all good, ever tranquil, calm, and serene. That's why you see those people who think of God, they become tranquil. They become peaceful. Actually, genuine, even you can satisfy yourself. When you have a good meditation and then come out, you become restful. No, your mind becomes cool. That's why He is, because you have thought of Him, God, who is always peaceful, who is always tranquil. He is immortal. Thinking of Him, one becomes immortal. Why? God Himself, or Brahman, is immortal. He is one without beginning. He has Brahman, God has no beginning, no end, no middle, no section. You can make any. It is one homogeneous infinite. He is infinite wisdom and he is bliss. The seers meditate on him, and this is the source of all beings, the witness of all. They go beyond all darkness. He is Brahman, he is Shiva, he is Indra, he is the supreme, the changeless reality. He is Vishnu, he is the primal energy, he is entire eternity. He is all. He is what has been and what shall be. What has been and what shall be. He is all. He is what has been and what shall be. He who knows him conquers death. There is no other way to liberation. Those who know this, they will have the power to conquer death, fear of death, and also death. Death means the body will die, but they will raise themselves into the level of deathless condition. Now, question. This is the quotation. This much is the quotation. So we got the idea. The Upanishad directs us to go to solitude, and going to solitude, think of, withdraw your senses, withdraw the mind, and think of your Guru first, pranam. Think in the heart as the direction gives that it is Brahman, which is beginningless, endless, which is all effulgence, all the qualities. It is the silence, eternal silence. It is eternal bliss. And there you focus. It is one without a second. It has no beginning. It has no middle. It has no end. Huh? So meditate on them. And that is the Brahman. And then think, this light is Lord Shiva. You need not have to think, oh, am I worshipping Shiva or I'm missing Makali? No, Makali, Shiva, it is all in that cosmic consciousness. So think that he is Shiva, he is Brahma, he is Indra, he is the supreme reality, he is Vishnu, he is the primal energy, he is entire eternity, he is all in all. He is what has been and what shall be. If you think you have seen this, what is coming tomorrow, that is also he. There is nothing but that cosmic consciousness. Now, so this is the way you meditate. Now, let us consider each of the above ideas separately. 112 verse, page. First of all, who lives in solitude? What does it mean? This Swami's explanation is, Narada gives advice to all spiritual aspirants to have the association of the holy, receive the grace of great soul. Now he says that an aspirant must also live in solitude. This does not mean to live in a solitude throughout his life. There is then the danger of becoming a self-centered person. That's true. They become very self-centered, not thinking of anybody, going to isolation. To live in solitude for some time, or even occasionally, is very important and necessary for monks as well as householders. To live in solitude means what? Live in solitude means to devote oneself wholeheartedly to God. You go to solitude means what? In some work you are forgetting while we are performing work in day-to-day life. But when you go to solitude means then God and you only. That idea of Mary and Martha, that idea is we are working. We are neither Mary, of course. Mary was doing for Christ only. Martha was working for Christ only. We do work whole day, but not for God. Forgetting God, we do for so many purposes. This is my duty. They have to do. I'm tired of this doing. It's a work as work. But for a devotee, it is not so. It is for God. So, wholeheartedly, one should, to live in solitude means to devote oneself wholeheartedly to God. wholeheartedly to God. Away from worldly distractions. Less distraction, so that there will be no, you're sitting, someone will call, hey, here is a phone call. Of course, people nowadays, wherever they go, they will take the cell phone for their silent meditation. They think they are going for meditation, but the phone should be there, or at least computer should be there. And then you open there and try to do Wi-Fi and this and that and find. So where is your solitude? What is the purpose of going to solitude? Think wholeheartedly of God. So these are many strong, determined devotees and monks or householders. They can do that. As Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, turn all your thought towards solitude, spurning the noise of the crowd, its fruitless commotions. While living in solitude, intensify your longing for God. What will you do? You go in a solitude, then you intensify. Your longing of God is there in us. He says you intensify that, make little more stronger. Meditate, chant the name of the Lord and praise His glory. Study the scriptures and meditate on their meaning. Thus must we pass your time for some while in order that love for God may grow. It is not talking about those people who have arrived that type of state, but it is for us. We need to go. Sri Ramakrishna says, he has given quotation from Ramakrishna. He says, to quote Sri Ramakrishna in this connection, what Sri Ramakrishna said, quote, on page 113, if you want butter, the milk must be curdled and set in a place where no one can disturb it. Otherwise, the curd will not stand. Then churn it, and the butter will rise. Similarly, neophyte should sit in solitude and not be disturbed by worldly minded people. Then, through the churning of the settled mind, by the practice of meditation, the butter of divine love will be acquired. If you give your mind to God in solitude, you will obtain the spirit of renunciation and absolute devotion. If you give the mind to the world, it will grow worldly and think of lust and greed. We sometimes don't pay attention to this. In a growing period, we are all students to growing in our spiritual life. The time consciously we should not give it for any other thing. So Sri Ramakrishna says, like a butter, you have to set butter. If you want butter, tell him milk. What do you do? Milk. We put some, what do you call, in the milk? What do you put to make it curd? Some culture. So you do. Then what you do? You keep it in a quiet place. You don't push it like that. The whole night you keep it very calm, quiet like that. And you see in the morning it has settled down. So in spiritual life also, we'll have to do that. What is the culture? With the milk, our mind, put some culture, mantra, japa, prayer, add that in a settled position. So the mind goes there and you settle, and it becomes thick. And then you want to make a ghee out of it, a butter out of it. What will you do? Then you churn, but churning with the name of God. So otherwise the curd not stand. Then they churn it and the butter will rise. The butter, the cream of realization will come out of it. Similarly, the new people should sit in solitude. So we, like our spiritual life, sit in solitude, who are not to be disturbed by worldly minded people. They don't come to talk about mundane things, worldly thoughts. So every day these things, nonsense things are changing. And we release those things. We do contradictory things. We do meditation to settle the godly ideas. And as soon as they come out of our meditation, we start chattering about the world. We are doing just do not, one side we are trying to settle, another side immediately we are trying to disturb. That's why spiritual growth is stunted. We are not growing much. But if one maintains that, what you did in your meditation or in your prayer, let us continue that in your work. Avoid talks, useless talks. Avoid things which are secondary. If essential things are there in life, you will have to do that. But if you can avoid, just get out of it. So that's easy. They should not be disturbed. You disturb. We disturb ourselves. That's the problem. Who will disturb? We create such a thing. If it is a duty, suppose you are just coming out on some duty, immediately follow. Okay, do that duty as service to God. But it is not necessary. I can avoid that. Till I bring all those thoughts in my mind, what I have settled the milk with mantra to settle down, and the curd was settling. And immediately I go and move it. That's a whole night. You see, morning come out, you see nothing else. No yogurt is available. We call it spoiled milk. The milk which we had, that's spoiled. A great example, Ramakrishna's example, if you analyze one example, you see how deep you can go. If you don't allow this silence and settle down in silence, then your all effort is disturbed. But if you keep it, then you see the curd has come, and then you take the curd, and much finer thing will come out of the curd, the butter will come. Then you can make butter from butter to ghee, clarified buttermilk. You can do that. So spirituality, grow to its fullest extent. So similarly, in the new neophyte should sit in solitude and not be disturbed by worldly minded people. Here, worldly minded, we have to understand. We are monks and you are devotees. You may say, "Oh, I am going to cook." It is not worldly talk. It is not worldly. It is you are doing for God. That's a different thing. But you start chattering about mundane things, about who has done what the news people are always bombarding with lies. Ramakrishna could not touch those newspapers because of that. Because it has so much of distorted information. Truth sometimes is very hidden. So, not to disturb by the worldly minded people, then through the churning of the settled mind, by practice of meditation, the butter of the divine life will be acquired. If one gives your mind, if you give your mind to God in solitude, you will obtain the spirit of renunciation. What is the sign that you went to solitude? And you meditate. What will be the sign? I went there for a tapasya. What we'll see? We'll see that your detachment is coming. Your spirit of renunciation is growing in you. Ramakrishna says, no? Renunciation, spirit of renunciation, and absolute devotion, your love for God is growing. If you give the mind to the world, tell you what will happen? It will grow worldly. His mind is such. You put the mind in worldly thought, it will be worldly. You put the mind in godly thought, it will be godly. You put the water in a cup, it will take the shape of a cup. If you place the same water in a bowl, it will take the shape of a bowl. Don't blame mind, but blame yourself, because you are putting your mind in a bowl or a cup or a jar or whatever. So in worldly thought, divine thought, spiritual thought, or mundane thought. So be careful. Sri Ramakrishna continues, the world may be linked likened to water. The mind may be like the milk. Pure milk, once mixed with water, cannot be separated from it. But if it is first turned into butter and then placed in the water, it can remain separate. Let the milk of your mind be turned into butter of divine love by means of religious practices in solitude. The mind then will never get mixed with water of worldliness, the water of worldliness, but will rise above and remain unattached to the world. Having attained true knowledge and devotion, the mind will stand apart from the world. What a beautiful Ramakrishna's example. Huh? Say that pure milk, if you add water to the pure milk, it will be diluted. But now you make it a butter, then it floats in the water. It does not get mixed up. So that's why pure milk, once mixed with water, then you cannot separate the pure milk. But if it is first turned into butter, well, putting your mantra, putting your prayers, putting your thinking, if it solidifies, godly thought solidifies in the heart, then it cannot remain, then it will float. Separation, detachment, it will be natural. You will see that person is unattached to the excitements and things happening in the world. Either is not elated or not depressed. So let the milk of your mind be turned into butter of divine love. What is the butter here? Divine love for God. The mind then will never get mixed with the water of worldliness, but will rise above and remain unattached to the world. Having attained true knowledge and devotion, the mind will stand apart from the world. So if you go on doing, then you will find that is the change coming in our life. So Ramakrishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, the sign of the Bhakti is Vivikto Desha Sevittam Aratir Jana Sangsadi. In the 13th chapter, Sri Bhagavan said, Krishna says that Nirjan, in the Vivikto Desha Seva, one person who loves to enjoy the solitude, place of solitude, and which is free from, where the mind is such, they don't find joy in associating with the worldly thoughts. Sri Ramakrishna said, God thinking, you cannot think of God without going to solitude. And he gave the example also, when the blacksmith, earlier days, they used to make the gold into an ornament. That time, he is so engrossed in melting the gold and then making his design that even people call several times, he does not pay attention. If he does, then your purpose will be lost. Sri Ramakrishna continues, if you go in silence, then your jnana, bhakti, vairagya, devotion, love, all these will come. And if you put it in the worldly thoughts, then mind will go down. This world is filled with lust and greed. Therefore, you have to be careful. Whether you be a worldly householder or whoever who wants to realize bhakti or attain bhakti, have to practice in silence. Those objects which binds us in Maya, then you can avoid that, remaining in this silence. Ramakrishna said in another place, it is very difficult to do spiritual practice remaining in household life. There are many obstacles. There is bereavement, disease, poverty. There are different problems. But that's why the people in the world should go a few days in silence and do spiritual practice. And when you go to silence, Ramakrishna said, you think that there is no one in the world whom I can call my own. Oh Lord, you are my all in all. Now, second point. The first point is this. Yeah. First point is go to solitude. Now, the second point. Who cuts through the bondage of the world? When the milk of the mind has been turned, quote within quotation, the butter of divine love, it does not become attached to the worldliness. Such a man is freed from bondage. Page 114. Such a man is freed from bondage of the world. Not that he necessarily runs away from the world. Bhaktas don't go away from the world, leaving everything. Or if he is a householder, runs away from his parents, wife, and children. But he learns to see his family as God's family. And he sees God in each of them and serves them with greater love. For his love, then for his family, then becomes an entirely selfless love. See, this is the difference of bhakta. Bhakta need not have to leave the house and go run away. But Ramakrishna says that it will be that it does not become attached to the worldliness. That's the second point, no? Jo lokabandham unmulayati. Say lokabandham, the bondage which binds us down into the loka, in this plane of worldliness, he becomes free. So it does not become attached to the worldliness. That is the point. Such a man is freed from bondage of the world. Not that he necessarily runs away from the world, or if he is a householder, runs away from his parents, wife, or children. That means no, only new attitude. It is to them God, 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 God. If one mind is saturated with God, every action will remind him as a that is opportunity to serve God. But he learns to see his family as God's family. For our monastery and convent, monks have, nuns have much more easy way. Because really it is whose? For whom you are cooking. It is not blood related to anyone, but you are cooking for, first of all you say you are cooking for the Lord. If at all you think that you are cooking for your some spiritual friends, say sisters, brother, monks and nuns there. So, and anything you are doing is for the ashram, you are for Ramakrishna's place. It is Vedanta, it is Sri Ramakrishna's place. So it becomes easy. It is for not for your own personal selfish motive. So for his love, for his family, then becomes entirely selfless. Then whatever you do, you can do much more. Your energy level goes up. People can do much more. Third point, who goes beyond the three gunas? What is that? Shall we end here? Any question?
Only one question.
Acha. Okay, another 5 minutes are there. So, acha, we can start this or we can leave these 2 points. One point is the who goes beyond the three gunas, and last, who depends upon Lord even for his living. So these are the 2 points will remain. We can discuss the other day, next day, if we have question. Okay, let us see if any question comes. So we are all God. That is the question. Good. This is the idea. We are not God, but we are children of God. We cannot be God. But really, we are all children of God. We are talking a devotional book, no? So no one can be God. We can be Brahman. That is to be clarified. This question is, in one sense, it is important to understand. We are not God, because the book says that I am Shiva, I am Krishna, all this state. That is a state when one develops real love for God and forget his body identity, ego identity. Now, whenever I think I think of me, this man who has his selfishness, who has his imperfections, who is struggling to be perfect but failing. I cannot say I am God. I can say I am child of God. God is my goal, and I want to fall in love with His presence. But I am forgetting God, I am engaged in the world. So we are all God if we can meditate and pray and go deeper and deeper and forget this body identity. And if one can become really indrawn in such a way, in solitude, going to solitude, and in service, detachment, as we just read now, if we practice that, then it will be really, yes, we are child of God. And then when even child of God means also two, and Vedanta will come, child of God will be Brahman. Child and I and my father are one. I, the person, and Father in the heaven, they're same. That's a very pure state. In the state of samadhi, in the state of perfect devotion to God, when people forgets his or her own physical identity, then you can say, oh, this man is God intoxicated. We talk about Ramakrishna. He is called God intoxicated. Meaning what? In him nothing is there but God. He becomes so intoxicated as people get intoxicated in drinking. They forget themselves, is it not? A person who is intoxicated in drinking, he or she forgets himself or herself as a person and lives in another mental realm. And spiritual people who got intoxicated in God, they become godlike. They become God. Girish Ghosh, he wanted to see Ramakrishna, came to Ramakrishna. And when he came to Ramakrishna, he saw that Ramakrishna is intoxicated, so deeply intoxicated. So what is this? And Girish said that I drink so much, but I don't get this intoxication. So, and he said, where did you get this brand of wine? Ramakrishna said, I don't drink ordinary wine. I take the name of my mother. Surapan Korinayami. Sudha Kai Jai Kali Bole. I don't drink wine, so-called wine, but Sudha Kai. I drink the nectar, Joy Kali, by saying Ma Kali, Jai Ma. With this mother's name, I get so much intoxication. Huh? So this is the thing. That then that person, the personality of the devotee goes away. In that place we see all godliness. Huh? So, yes, in that sense, we are all God, but we will say we are children of God. Are there descriptions of love for God? Does it feel somewhat similar in quality to love of parents or other loved ones? Can qualities of prema, bhakti, be described? Here is a question, beautiful question. Are there descriptions of love for God? Yes, there are descriptions of love for God. The entire book we are reading, this Narada's way of love, this talks about bhakti and descriptions of love. And you find in the mystics and the devotees like Ramakrishna, like saints, Mirabai, the devotional saints. So they there we find that description. They become totally absorbed in God. Their eyes soaked with tears. Their bodies become horripilation when they think of God, chant the name. And they become so intoxicated that their body stands, the hair stand on the body. So is that there are descriptions of love. And they call that Ostru, Pulaka, the signs of the devotion will be tears coming down this way. Ostru, Pulaka. The thrill comes all over, taking the name of Lord, horripilation all over the body. Pulaka. Then other good qualities will be there. He'll be intoxicated talking about God only. He will not release any worldly talk. Ramakrishna, people used to come mundane talk. He could not take that. That he used to cry, "Oh, ye children, please come, who are pure soul, whom I can talk to. I cannot spend my life this way. There is nobody to talk." So that is the description is there. They will be liking, preferring to go to the solitude or with the association of the holy. They will be whole day. They will be spending in God, 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 like a mad person. So those are the simple. Does it feel somewhat similar in quality to love of parents? Yes, parents' love and others' love, what we understand, they are also God's love. If you find love from anyone, you know it is there. That is just a symbolic of what is God's love. But these are all fragments, little fragments. God's love is whole. If one gets a total love for God manifest in someone, then that person does not have to look at anything. Sadananda Sukhe Bhase. They float in the sweetness and the float in the joy of bliss all the time. Shama Jodi Phire Chai. If the mother, the divine mother, puts a glance on them, that means their devotion is such, they see the mother that way, then he remains saturated with Sadananda, all the time Ananda, all the time bliss. Can qualities of Prema Bhakti be described? Actually, Prema Bhakti is the highest Bhakti. These symptoms are mentioned here in this book. Right? They are the very beginning we have read. What is Bhakti? Right? We have Sa Tasmin, pray, Young Labdva, these are the symptoms. Verse number, we have read verse number 4 of this Narada's book, in this book which you are reading. It says, Young Labdva Puman Siddho Bhavati, attaining which one becomes fulfilled, saturated. Amrito Bhavati becomes totally full of blissfulness. And Tripto Bhavati become totally satisfied. হ্যাঁ তারপরে বলছে যদ জ্ঞাত্বা মাত্তো ভবতি attaining that parabhakti supreme love one becomes intoxicated stabdho bhavati sometimes they become just still no movement like a jara absorbed in the joy inside does not speak anything atma ramo bhavati it becomes deeply with the joy, is deeply absorbed in the joy of the divine love inside. So these are the symptoms of love that has been mentioned in our Narada's way of. Next question. I am on the paths of both wisdom and devotion. What did Sri Ramakrishna and Swamiji say on this subject? That is very good. Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, both of them encourage that our present age we should catch these two ideas. Narada, by the Jnana Mishra Bhakti. It is called Jnana, means wisdom and knowledge, mixed with Mishra Bhakti, devotion. Because we are intelligent people, only mere devotion sometimes ends into emotionalism. Mere the path of analysis makes you dry intellectualism. So one makes you dry intellectualism, another make you totally emotional. You cannot to make a balance. So Jnana and Bhakti will be coupled together. That is the idea of Sri Ramakrishna. That is the idea of Swami Vivekananda. Are we resting in the consciousness of Ishvara when we are in deep sleep? Yes. That's why you say, I slept well. You are conscious that you are sleeping. That's why your question is very good. Are we resting in the consciousness of Ishvara when we are in deep sleep? Yes, we are. God is there, you are there, I am there. When we go to sleep, we don't die. Rather, we come out and say, I had a good sleep. I enjoyed it. How do you know? Unless there is consciousness. And upon waking, we are projected back into this manifest world. Right? Exactly. We are resting. We have to think that even now, we are resting on consciousness. Now, in the waking state, if there is an ultimate consciousness, a dead body, you make him sit, it will fall down. Its eyes will be there, it does not see. Mouth will be there, it does not speak. Ears will be there, it does not hear. So, consciousness should be there. So, consciousness is now behind our all action. That is Ishvara or God is there behind me. And in a dream, there is also that consciousness there. You can say Ishvara is behind you. And in your deep sleep state, yes, there is also God is there.
And the dead body is also resting on the consciousness.
Huh?
A dead body is also resting on consciousness.
And that's a different thing. We are talking about consciousness here means whenever we talk about consciousness, we see the activity. There is consciousness behind this table also. There is consciousness behind this phone also. Everywhere, because it is only tamas manifestation, rajas manifestation, sattika manifestation. But consciousness must be there behind the death. But that is not our issue. Issue is that when we are awake, we want to experience that consciousness. But yes, consciousness is guiding us. Jara, there is no demarcation. In ultimate sense, as you have questioned, the consciousness in the dead body, consciousness in the rock, consciousness in the stone, yes, that is there, but it is full of tamas, covered by tamas part of Maya. That's why it is there, it is as if not there. But in a crawling worm, even in an ant or a animal or birds, you see, there is some, we say, oh, the bird is still conscious. Right? Bird is fluttering, oh, bird is dead. That our concept is that consciousness is breathing, this prana. Behind this prana, there is consciousness. And when it does not, consciousness is everywhere. But that is a state to be understood. That's why two stages of development. One stage we will have to see the consciousness behind the so-called conscious people, this conscious world. No? Has to see that I am seeing you. That means there is consciousness behind me. Let us hold on. Remember, oh, there is consciousness. I am seeing through the consciousness. I'm hearing through the consciousness. I'm talking to the consciousness. I'm moving in that consciousness. No? First, let us hammer on this point. And then it goes further. Then you see, oh, the consciousness is here also, not here. Then you go, oh, this world is all electron and proton. Huh? So, but what is behind that electron and proton? Go on, go on, go on, go on. There is some consciousness. Otherwise, how the electron and proton movement will be there and all these things are happening? No. So, that is the way to start from apparent consciousness to the real consciousness, stage by stage. So, our practice should be there. Okay? So therefore, we are resting in the consciousness. When we are in deep sleep, yes, and upon waking, yes, now and the waking state, we are projected back into this manifest world. But consciousness is still here, though projected outside, but consciousness is still there. Okay? Thank you. I mean, that's done. So thank you all. Now this class will begin in the next week. So thank you for joining, and we'll meet you again today 7:30 p.m. And that class will be a new class today. That is Shanti Gita. So today we'll do some introduction, and then I will talk about that at 7:30. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.